What's going on, brothers? I hope you're all having a blessed and fantastic day today. Now, I was actually able to grow over 60,000 followers on Instagram and nearly 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. And it wasn't because I, started working harder than everybody else. And it wasn't because I was special either. I simply identified a problem with my system and I solved it, right? And if you're a creator, struggling with staying focused, struggling with staying consistent on the things that you're trying to achieve, let me save you a bit of time, right? Your problem is not motivation, right? It's not because you aren't motivated, because obviously you are motivated, right? Or else you wouldn't be watching this video, right? This is something that you want. Motivation isn't the issue here, right? And you don't need to put in more effort or anything like that either, right? What you need is a little something that I like to call a distraction buffer, right? And through implementing a distraction buffer, right, you are going to have the system, the tools that you need in order to completely eradicate distractions from your life so you can focus on what truly matters. But why exactly does this work, right? Because not many people know about this buffer here. Because you always get that same advice, right? Always telling you the same thing, right? If you worked hard enough, you'd be able to achieve it. Oh, maybe you're just not motivated. Maybe you just don't want it bad enough, right? Things such as these. But the problem with those is that everybody's getting the same thing, right? If everybody's getting the same advice, but not everybody is getting the same result. Rather, not everybody is getting the desired result, right? Which means there's some sort of disconnect here. There's some sort of problem that hasn't been identified, right? Something that people aren't realizing that's stopping them from being able to overcome these distractions, right? So I'll write it down so you're able to understand, right? Oh, just work harder. Motivation. Oh, just want it. But again, this stuff doesn't work. And usually, when a lot of people are doing something and that thing doesn't work, maybe you don't want to do that thing. And, I had this kind of same thought process that, wait a second, everybody's telling the same thing, but it's not working. So I got to figure out something else if I want to achieve this, this desired result, right? Growing, getting the growth in the areas that I wanted to grow in. And that's what I did, right? I created a system that allowed me to do so. And if you're a creator who is struggling with building that consistency, staying focused on the things that matter, click the first link in the description. Started this elite group, right, built for creators who are trying to achieve this growth, right, who are suffering from this distraction, all the social media, that type of thing. So again, click the first link in the description, and I'll see you there. But ultimately, right, as I stated earlier, if you want to completely eliminate distractions, you need, my friend, is what you need. Say distraction buffer. I'll write it out again. That's not how you spell distraction. It's an I. in buffer. Now, what exactly is a distraction buffer? Now, that's a great question you asked me. So, a distraction buffer is essentially the amount of distance between you, this will be you, little stick man, you and the distraction. I'll just write this, right? So this could be your phone. It's a phone, little phone, got the little Instagram on it, right? Your phone, or maybe you like to get trapped in that YouTube rabbit hole. Maybe you're an avid Netflix fan. Whatever the case is, right? You have this distraction that's stopping you from working, getting the work done, or focus, right? Now, the more distance between you and that distraction, the harder it's going to be for you to get distracted, right? It's very simple to understand. But the lower that distance, right? Say, you, distraction right there, well, then you're obviously going to get distracted, right? There's really nothing you can do about that, right? Now, the problem that a lot of people face is that they are unfortunately right here. right? They're trapped, they're very close to these distractions. Thus, they're always getting distracted and they can't stay focused and they can't gain that consistent growth that they're seeking, right? But what we want to get is, we want to get over here. We want to get over here. The more space between it, right, the easier it's going to be for you to achieve your goals, right? So I'll give a little example, right? So right, you're trying to create some content, right? You're scripting, doing whatever it is that you do, but your phone is right next to you, right? And now you're hearing these notifications pop up, bzzz, right? You're getting all these notifications, right? It's over there, and you're just being tempted. It's like, I gotta work, but my phone's right there. What if I'm missing something? What if somebody's contacting me? What if they need me? Oh my goodness, I gotta pick up the phone, but and then you end up grabbing, right? Because it was right next to you, right? It's very difficult to avoid getting distracted in a situation. Or maybe, your favorite shows on Netflix, right? You got the bookmark right there, on your computer screen. You're like, I could work, but I don't know. They just dropped the new show. Oh my goodness. Next episode of Solo Leveling is out. Oh, I gotta, right? And you end up clicking it again because it's right there. The distance is right next to you, right? There's no friction between you. So you're gonna click it. Now, let's paint an alternate scenario. So imagine, instead of it being right there, the distance between you and that distraction is all the way over here, right? So instead of your phone being next to you, it's like it's across the house or something, right? It's completely off, right? Your notifications are off, right? Only the essentials are on, right? Nothing, this is gone from the environment. Now, first of all, it's not even on your mind, right? If you get that urge to scroll, you're gonna be like, I could scroll. I'd have to get up, I'd have to go downstairs, I have to go into my garage, open my car just to grab my phone out of it. I'm not doing all that. I'm gonna keep working, right? Because there was a extremely high degree of something, I guess it's not what I like to call it, it's just friction. Right? There was so much friction between you and that distraction that you simply did not want to do it. And that's the power of friction, right? Friction, in science, right? It's the amount of resistance, that you face trying to move something, right? So let's say, there's you're trying to push a box across a concrete floor, except it has no wheels, right? Well, obviously going to be pretty hard to push that box because there's a lot of friction between the box and the ground. But if you put wheels in the box, then it's going to be very easy to roll. You having your phone next to you is putting wheels on the box and wondering why the box is moving, right? No, it's putting, I got to draw this out. Right, so it's like putting a ball on a ramp and wondering why the ball is rolling down, right? Because it's right next to you, right? Your phone is right next to you. You're wondering, why do I keep getting distracted? Well, your phone is right there. But, increasing friction, right? Moving the phone out of your room is like putting a box, on a hill and trying to move it up. Right? You're like, well, wait a second, this isn't working. It's very hard. Just leaving the box there, and you getting distracted would be that box just magically, sliding up this concrete hill. It's like, what is going on here? It's not going to happen, right? When that friction is increased, when there's a lot of distance between you and that distraction, well, congratulations, you're not going to get distracted, right? This is what a distraction buffer essentially is. Well, how exactly does one implement that? How do I utilize this in order to achieve my goal? Well, thank you for asking that. That's actually a very beautiful question you've asked there. Now, there's actually 3 steps that you need to implement if you want to utilize this so that you can see this growth that you are seeking, right? You can see this growth in your audience, revenue, that type of thing, right? Because when you aren't distracted, well, there's nothing stopping you from achieving your goals, right? Because you already know what you have to do. It's just doing it is the problem because there's all of this stimulation going on. It's like, oh my goodness, how am I supposed to focus? There's so much happening, right? So there's this 3-step framework that you can implement. And the first step is actually, something that you probably have realized, right? You want to simply remove it. Right, very simple. You want to remove that distraction. So if your distraction is scrolling on your phone, right, getting caught up in that social media trap, getting in those rabbit holes, well, then just don't have it in that space that you're working. So if you work in your, you have an office, right, you're working in your room, well, just don't have your phone in your room when you're working, or if you need your phone there, right, turn off every single notification, right, grayscale it, turn off all the notifications, right, only the essentials, so like text messages from family or friends, that type of thing. But everything else, it's just off. Can't hear it, can't see it, nothing, right? Just completely silence it off, right? And that way you're not getting that constant simulation ping, ping, right? You're just not getting distracted at all, right? There's nothing there. There's nothing to think about. You're like, okay, I'm gonna just, I'm gonna stay focused, right? Or maybe your vice, right? Your distraction is something YouTube, Netflix, right? Some type of tab, right? Okay, well, you can either block it, right? Use certain blockers. There's like, I don't use any personally myself. That's not really my distractions. More so on the scrolling side, right? But there's tons of websites out there that can block YouTube, block all these Netflix, that type of thing, right? Basically, adding friction, right? Or essentially remove the distraction from the space where you're trying to be productive in, and you'll be able to stay productive. Now, number two is something I like to call the personal library. Now, why exactly do I call it a personal library? Allow me to explain. So, when let's say, you're waking up, you're like, man, I'm feeling, I'm gonna go to a library. You just decide, I wake up, I'm gonna go to the library today. So you get in your car, you hop in that way, right now you're at the library, you go in, and then, you enter that library. Like, what is the kind of sense that you get? Like, what do you feel when you enter that library? Well, you feel like you enter this productive state, because you see all these people working. It's quiet, right? Nobody's, you don't hear all this TikTok, right? It's just work. People are reading books. People are being productive. And when you are in this environment of a library, you naturally want to work, because your brain is conditioned. Oh, I'm in a library. It's productive time. It's focus time, that type of thing. Well, you want to build a personal library, or more specifically, a personal space, wherein when you enter that space, you instantly get into this mode of working. And then when you get into that space, you sit down, you open up your computer, your laptop, whatever the case is. All of a sudden, you're just naturally progressing towards that work, because the environment has conditioned you to do so. You want that. So whether you're in your personal workspace, you have an office, you have a room, you essentially want to design that environment, right? Only work in that environment, and then when you're there, you're just naturally going to be productive, right? You've already conditioned yourself to do that thing in that space. When you enter that room, you go out of, whatever state you were in, that state of rest, that state of play, you enter that room, now you're in that state of work. It's like, it's lock-in time, it's focus time, right? The environment is a very powerful thing, because let's paint the opposite scenario. Let's say, you go into, I don't know, some type of game room or something, right? You see a bunch of people, they're on their computers, they're loud, they're just, very, very chaotic environment. You're not going to be able to work at all. You can't focus, you can't do anything, right? You're just going to sit down, you're going to start scrolling, you're going to, watch that next latest TV show, right? The environment is very powerful. When you have your personal library, this personal environment that conditions you to work, you are naturally going to work. And third is kind of, along the same lines as the first one. You simply want to add friction. Now, the thing about friction is actually very beautiful once you realize what exactly it's capable of. But friction can go both ways. So if there's something that you don't want to do, distractions, scrolling, socials, all that stuff, well, you simply want to increase the amount of friction, right? Back to the example we painted out earlier, right? It's like, well, if you don't want to do it, right? If the ball is going down the hill, we'll turn the ball into a box, and then, put it at the bottom of the slope, right? It's not going to move. You simply want to increase the amount of friction it would take for that, that box, that distraction to take place. So again, like following these same things, right? Remove it, grayscaling your phone, right? Blocking all of these apps, that type of thing. You simply increase the amount of friction, and you won't do it, because we as humans, we like to take the path of least resistance. When there's a lot of resistance to do something, i.e., I gotta get up, I gotta, it's like, you're like in those cartoons, right? Where there's like a bunch of locks on the door, right? You're trying to, I'll see if I can draw it up here. Right, there's a door, but there's like 50 locks on the door. Lock 1, lock 2, lock 3, I'm just drawing circles. They're not really locks, but you get the idea, right? You're trying to get this, behind this door is your distraction, right? Your vice, the thing you're trying to stop doing. But there's a bunch of locks. So you're sitting down, you're working, like you get that urge to scroll. Oh, I gotta scroll on my phone. I gotta watch the latest TikTok and reel. But then you get up, you see like 16 locks on the door. You're like, man, I'm not doing all of that. And you just don't do it, right? You just sit down and get back to work, because there's too much friction there. So you just don't do it, right? When that friction is high, you take that path of least resistance, which is working, and you just get back to work. Now, if there's something that you want to do, i.e. focus, get the work done, well, you want to have the door be wide open. I don't know how to draw an open door. I think this will be the frame, and this will be like the door that is open. All right, and then we'll just draw work inside. Beautiful, right? Now the door is wide open, right? So you've got two options. You can either try and, find all the keys for this multi-lock door and get distracted, or you can simply walk through the wide open door and get the work done, right? Stay focused, right? When the friction is low, you're going to do the thing. When the friction is high, you are not going to do the thing. Through implementing this friction, you're going to be able to design your life, structure your workspace, structure your environment in a way where it's impossible for you to get distracted and extremely possible for you to get the work done, stay focused. So, hopefully you found some sense of value in this video. Hopefully you've learned something. You'll hopefully realize that, distractions actually aren't that difficult to overcome. And there actually is a reality out there wherein you can maintain your focus and do the things that you need to do in order to achieve your goals, right? Keep this growth in your content, that type of thing. And again, if you are a creator who is struggling with these distractions, right, and you want more valuable, insight like this, right, my own personal methods, the exact frameworks that I myself use to grow my socials to the point where they're at, right, 60,000 on Instagram, 2,000 on YouTube, right, nearly 2,000 on YouTube, right. Click that first link in the description, right. I've started this elite community where I'm teaching other creators to follow the exact frameworks that I used in order to get the results that I was able to achieve. So if you want to, learn something new, right, click this video here, or it might be here, or it might be down there, could possibly even be right here, wherever I decide to put it in post. But other than that, I will catch you guys in the next one. Stay frosty.